Erik, and how are you?
Hello, Jennylyn. I'm happy to be on your show once again. It's always a pleasure.
Well, I have to tell you, over 3 weeks, I've had two people consistently asking me, when are you bringing Erik on? We love to hear from him, or we trust what he's saying. And you and I have made several attempts to do a segment, but something always happened that prevented us. So I always believe not to push anything and that it happens when it's meant to. So here we are. The problem today, though, is where do we start?
Sure.
So
Right.
much is happening so quickly that, we can't keep up. And one of the reasons I'm not doing as many shows as as I used to, because I feel like I need to take a break from all of it. And this is like my fifth break. But the stuff, it gets to you, especially when you know what the average person doesn't seem to know. The world really seems oblivious to a lot of what is happening. And in my opinion, it's because there's news source, which is mainstream media, is designed to keep them exactly where they are. And I'm not saying I'm smarter than anyone else or that I know more than anyone else, but I definitely do the work. And so we're living in a time where you have to be vigilant. If you really want to stay on top of things, you have to be an advocate for truth. And that can also be complicated because it's very difficult to know where to find the truth and who is telling the truth, which is why I like to do these segments with Erik, because I know Erik is a person of integrity, which is which is a requirement for me to call you a dear friend. And he is one of my dear friends. And that's because I know, like me, he lives a life of integrity. Erik, tonight, I think we should start with the Epstein Files because I know you did a show about this recently. And it's the one thing that everyone is talking about because everyone knows that some of the files have been released. Before I turn this over to you, though, I'm going to say this. And for all of you wanting to come from my jugular, I am still entitled to my opinion, and my opinion is Jeffrey Epstein is still alive. I have always felt this, and Erik, you can recall we've had a discussion about this at least a year ago where I told you I don't feel him dead. I never felt him dead. I feel he is still right here on the planet with us. So, Erik, having said that, let's turn this over to you because you're the one who's done all the homework.
So I want to go back to what you were talking about just a little bit ago. So as someone, and you can probably attest to this, Jenny Lynn, because you're very seasoned in the journalism world. But I want to tell your audience how difficult it is sometimes as a journalist when you know you have to report a certain way to stay factual, but you know more than what you're reporting. But you can't reveal it because of reason X, Y, and Z. And so it makes it very difficult sometimes to report. Like I want to, when I do stuff for the Islamabad Telegraph, there's things I want to talk that I want to bring out into my articles that would make it so much better, um, and probably draw more readers. But the thing of it is it just can't happen. You have to stay inside a parameter, and sometimes it's difficult to do that when I have an opinion that is over in one direction, but you have to stay down the middle all the time, and it's difficult. But with that said, with modern day journalism, especially in our hemisphere, we don't see very many journalists even make that attempt to stay down the middle. So I understand it's difficult, but it can be done, and to try to stay as um, you know, not one way or the other the best you can. Now, when I'm on my podcast, I'm going to tell you exactly what I think. So it's a little bit different because that's my rules. So I
Can
tell
I
everybody, if you don't
interrupt
like it,
you
don't
for
watch it.
1 second, Eric? Hold that thought. You said something that triggered something I've noticed, and if I don't say it now, I'll probably forget by the time you're done. But what I have noticed, and this really warms my heart, 80% of the journalists I'm seeing now are kids or young men and women between birth. They're no more than 35 years
Yeah,
old, and they know what they're talking about because
right.
what they're saying is exactly what I have researched after I've gone down all the little rabbit holes. And I am so happy because what that tells me is there is hope. If at this young age they
Yeah.
are awakened to the truth, there is hope for for humanity. The problem in the past was we were all asleep, all of us. I woke up, geez, when I'm ready to look for my grave. So continue what you're saying, Eric.
Well, I agree with you, Jenny Lynn, that it does seem like there's a new generation of truth seekers, and that is it is refreshing. There's not going to be a right or wrong answer when you're looking for the truth. It's wherever it leads you,
Mhm.
and so it's exciting to see some of these people, bro, 'cause it's going to exercise your brain too. Anytime that we get the youth exercising their brain as opposed to doing this all day with their phones is always a good thing. It does make me feel a little bit better now with Epstein. So we'll go into the whole Epstein thing.
The big can of worms.
So as everybody knows, millions of pages have been released. There's been heavy redactions. I'm not a Pam Bondi fan. I think overall she's been a huge disappointment. Um, I wanted to see indictments. The fact that she released all of the documents tells me that she's probably not going to indict anyone. Otherwise, she would have held back all that information and said, no, there's still a pending investigation going on, which is what I wanted her to say, but she didn't. She said, fine, have it. Which, if I understand, they passed the Jeffrey Epstein Act where they have to give out all that information. Congress was wrong by pushing that. They should have allowed that to stay in house and allow for the potential of indictments later, because new information on the Epstein case comes in every single day. So for them to throw half of the evidence out there for the public opinion is wrong. And that's looking at it from the law enforcement side of things. If I'm one of the officers that have put together this case and presented it, I'm going to be offended because now you've compromised the integrity of my case. So that's an issue that I
But
think we
can
have.
I
I think
say something to that?
yes.
Haven't they had enough time to? I
Well,
mean, we've been hearing about these files
yes.
forever. Why at this stage of the game they're not prepared?
So, and that's where we're you're seeing this. The Epstein Files doesn't have anything to do with right and wrong when it comes to what we're seeing on TV. It has everything to do with the left's fault, the right's fault. That's not good enough for me. Um, you can't use this as a political talking point. This you're talking about a potential for hundreds of victims, the potential for there could be you know dead bodies in the ground. We're talking about some serious offenses, and all they want to do is point the finger at each other. You get Thomas Massey and Ro Khanna, who we all know Ro Khanna botched the Suchir Balaji case and didn't want to even work with the parents. He's teaming up with Thomas Massey, who's one of the most worthless congressmen in Congress, and they want to sit here and push this issue. And then then they get a hold of some stuff that's unredacted, and they throw that information out there without knowing all the truth. And it ended up that the names they threw out there they didn't have anything to do with Jeffrey Epstein. They were just mentioned in passing in an email. And um, so that's gonna cause problems. Some of these guys are so desperate to create a political talking point that they will run people through the mud. You know, when you look at the list of the people that's named in the Epstein list, there's thousands of people. Not every single one of them is on Epstein Island. Not every single one of them is flying on Lady Lolita. Um, that's only reserved for a small handful of people. Now, I think that the Department of Justice should have narrowed their scope and focused on that little tiny group of elitists and really cut the head off the snake. Because now what we're having is you have Bill and Hillary Clinton, who Bill is probably one of the most mentioned. He's like, I think they counted over 2,600 times he's mentioned in those files.
Oh my God.
And I
Not
know from the
surprised.
well, and he's on the he took week-long vacations with Epstein. Like the flight logs all match up. He I think there's like three separate week-long vacations that he went on with Jeffrey Epstein to the island. So, you know, there's credible evidence there that puts people in places, and they should be looking at those things. And you have this whole gallery full of victims that are asking, "Hey, are you guys going to help us out here? We've had all this stuff happen to us. We've been victimized by this elitist, cultist, crazed lunatics on this island, and no, and you guys aren't even listening to us. Like we're telling you who did it." And the thing is, when you look at law, that Pam Bondi can get up there and say, well, the case blah 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 blah, and make up 100 excuses why she didn't indict somebody. Now, in her defense, we have to. This is a Merrick Garland problem from the Biden administration because he was the one who had it the most, and they did absolutely nothing with it. Um, I mean, Pam Bondi at least released it, uh, but Merrick Garland had all the time in the world. He had 4 years to dig through this case and indict someone, and that never happened. I don't think he even looked at it. I think it was supposed to be buried, and they were hoping that Kamala Harris would win president, and then they could keep it buried. Because you think Joe Biden and the leftists wanted to bury Bill Clinton? No, that was supposed to stay hidden. And now you're seeing the Hillary's running around doing all these you know campaign stops, and just pretending like nothing to see here. But your husband is the most named person in the Epstein files. And so for any political pundit to come out and say these are horrible things, yeah, they're horrible things, but what are you doing about it besides making tweets on X all day? That's not good enough. I That's why I avoid X, because it's a lot of people talking and doing nothing. And the real work is with the independent journalists that really want to get to the bottom of it, and really put these pieces together. And there's so much information. It's going to take a long time. I have a friend who's a journalist, and she's working on it and going through it page by page. I'm like, well, let me know in 10 years when you're done, because it's a lot of information to go through.
I agree with all of that, Eric. For over a year and a half, I was talking about the cannibalism and what they were doing to children. And most of the people I was telling it to looked at me like I was a complete lunatic. And behind my back, they called me names because no one could handle it. Because the people accused of committing these heinous crimes against innocent children were people who were held on pedestals by those who thought I was a nut. And so it's not about being right. It's never about being right. For me, what's important to me is it stops. It stops. God's innocent children. cannot be treated like this. It can't continue. Now, when you go back and you really examine our world as we know it, especially the country we're living in, and you look at punishable crimes, there's a distinction that even the blind can see. When people who are considered important commit a crime, they are never, ever held to the same standard of someone like you and I.
Right.
If we were accused of anything like that, we would be taken away and locked away, sometimes forever. There are people locked away in our jail system for having drugs. And then you listen to what these people have been doing, and in my entire
Right.
lifetime, I've never seen any of them held accountable. And here's where I have an issue. You and me and all of us accept this. No one talks about it. Everyone turns a blind eye to it. And it's almost like rules for the wealthy, rules for those who run the world, and rules for you who are considered nothing. And why are we okay with this? Why do we wake up every day, go to work, and have monies deducted from our income in taxes that is going to these people who live in another world with a whole
Right.
different set of rules? And this is the one thing I don't hear anyone talking about. The other thing is all the human trafficking. If you are willing, you don't even have to look anymore. It's everywhere that children and humans are being trafficked. And I know why, but I won't say it here because I've done the research and I've checked and checked and checked. And I know what I know is correct. But who is providing the kids? How are those who are using these kids getting the kids? Nobody is talking about them. Who is providing, who is doing the dirty work for those who we know, those of us who know, need the supply of children. And you and I, Eric, know why they need these kids and these humans. Of everything else, I don't care who went to Epstein's Island or the bottom line is why were they going there and what was happening there and who are the players who facilitated and accommodated this? That is where I am confused because the people who needed these children for their sacrifices or whatever, or these humans, they weren't the ones trafficking them themselves. So it's a whole bunch of layers of people who are supposed to be accountable for this.
Yeah, and so when you look at it from the law standpoint, there's two types of crimes that you can commit that you don't need a smoking gun to indict. And one is domestic violence, and the other one is sex crimes. So you can actually what they could take the victim's statement and take it to a grand jury and say, here's what the victim said happened. And they can get an indictment off of that. So for them to not even pursue not one single person from the Epstein files is atrocious. It's a miscarriage of justice. And it just seems like it's a to me looking at it, it's a it's a huge intentional deflection. And I think that unless the American people somehow figure out a way to hold all these politicians accountable for not doing their job, I think this is going to end up just passing time away and blowing away dust in the wind.
Well, if that is true, Eric, if that really is true and no one is held accountable, because apparently this has been going on for centuries, I feel my father always used to say something to us when we were children. The longest rope has an end. And I used to think, what's with him and the stupid rope? He always said it when he was making a point about
Right.
habits that we had. And I know this rope has an end. The problem is The people who make the laws are clearly the ones who break them. So basically, what is blatantly obvious to me is these rules are made for us. And if you are not considered a part of the upper echelon, the rule is for you. But if you are one of them, the rules do not apply. So, what's happened and what is apparently still happening, as atrocious as it is, as disgusting and heinous as it is, those rules do not apply. So I hate to say it, but I think you are right. I think for a long time, there's been a drip, drip, drip of what was happening on that island and what was happening amongst a lot of those people we consider the upper echelon. And to me, when there's smoke, there's fire. And so I can't imagine too many people are completely surprised now that the information is up there in our faces to access if you want to. And if you haven't watched some of these videos, I'm asking you not to. Because I have a pretty good stomach and I've known this was happening and I can't really watch a complete video. It's just so disturbing. And so, Erik, here's my question. Why do you think the files are released now? How long have we been hearing these files, these files, these files? So now they're out. Why have they suddenly been released?
So I think it was because they didn't have a choice. I think that time had gone by, and when the Epstein case first went down, it was during the Biden administration, and they took a lot of heat for not pursuing that, and it cost them a little bit in the election. Now that it's landed in Trump's hands, the pressure started to boil. I don't think they were ready to do anything with it, and the public made it a big deal. The left started attack the people who were covering it up before were starting to attack Trump for not doing anything about it, and so I think it came to the point where they had to do it, and
But Erik, not to interrupt you, but please correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't it the Trump White House that said there were no files? I remember not so long ago hearing there are no files.
yeah, and that's
And
the
then
problem that I
suddenly we have files. I mean, come on.
yeah, that's the problem that I have with Pam Bondi is um I don't trust her. And I think that, I mean, just in the research that I've done on her, she's very heavily connected to the Church of Scientology. And we all know what kind of crazy, weird stuff happens with that. Um,
Where
so,
isn't crazy weird stuff happening with the people who run the world? Just tell me,
yeah,
name one.
right. So I just off of the deep dig that I did into Pam Bondi, I don't like her. I think she's a bad actor. I would rather than bring Matt Gaetz back and replace her with him. Matt Gaetz is a bulldog and he don't care. And he'll throw all that stuff out there. So I think Pam Bondi has other interests involved that I don't trust her. And you can kind of compare. You look at the amount of influence when we talk about the elites, the amount of influence that the elites have. When you think about it, how many major, Rupert Murdoch is mentioned in the Epstein Files several times. He owns Fox. You have executives for MSNBC on that island list. The media world can still control the narrative. So no matter what we do, if let's say I get 1 million followers on my YouTube channel and all I do is talk about the Epstein files, there Google is one click away from just getting rid of my show and shutting me up. So it's a tough battle when you have commoners like us going up against elites who have control over everything. You look at Larry Fink, who is the whatever, the interim chair of the World Economic Forum, who's the chairman of BlackRock. He represents $17 trillion in assets. Who's going to stop a man with that much money and power to play with?
Well,
Nobody.
in answer to your question, it is blatantly obvious once again that we are now living in a dictatorship. We really have no rights. For example, TikTok, our government kept saying, oh, we shouldn't use TikTok. It's the Chinese are getting our secrets. I mean, the people who bought into that really disappointed me because some of them are educated friends of mine. And I realized the power of the media and how it brainwashes 80% of the people in the world. Because now that the ownership of TikTok has changed, and I'm not sidetracking, I'm making a point, we're coming back to your point in a minute. Every day I'm getting notices forcing me almost to create an account on TikTok. And I'm like, wait a minute, I thought we weren't supposed to use TikTok. Now you own it, and you have an agenda to force us to buy stuff on TikTok so we could continue to support Amazon. You're forcing me to buy TikTok. I mean, to go on TikTok. And so the point I am trying to make, Erik, is we no longer have any freedoms. It may appear as though we do, but we don't. Because if we do, I am missing it, and I'm asking you to please name one.
Yeah, I mean, we live in the illusion of freedom,
Thank you.
but we don't have true freedom. We have um, major corporations that run the world, and they feed off of our temptations and desires, and they can steer us in any direction that they want us to go just by dangling the chocolate covered strawberry in front of us. And that's honestly how it works. And I caught wind of that a long time ago, and so I simplified my life down and just stayed away from the things that they throw out there to try to tempt us. Like provocative trends, all these things that they try to hypersexualize people with, and all of the they want everybody to turn into a drunk or a drug addict so they can keep control, keep it's another money funneling ruse to where they can keep funneling rehab facilities, but the money gets kicked back right back to the politicians. So there's so many games that they play, and this stuff, and this is what's happening up in Minnesota. It's a kickback system. Here, we'll let you have a daycare center, but you're going to kick us back X amount of dollars off of the federal funding we're going to give you. And it's a sick and twisted thing where they're basically playing Russian roulette with our taxpayer money at the expense of us, where these funds aren't going, what if those funds could have went to an actual daycare where there's actual kids going there that actually need the daycare help? Why can't we do the honest thing for once? Why can't tornado money go to people whose house, like down in southern Kentucky, southeast Kentucky, they had these tornadoes go through. They still haven't fixed all that. You look at the wildfires out in California. I think they said they haven't even fixed 10 houses yet from those wildfires. Where's all that money? Where'd all that money go? This should have been done. They should have brought massive amounts of construction companies in to start mass rebuilding these properties. Why didn't that happen? Why are they still rebuilding Hawaii? It's that's just a big giant money
You think
funneling
they're
scheme.
rebuilding Maui? Based on
I
my research, those fires were deliberate because there are plans for those areas.
I
They're
I
not going to be rebuilding them. They're going to be doing they're going to continue with the reason why the fire was there in the first place.
yeah, I like you said, when you I can either report the truth, or I mean what the media says is the truth, or I can go with my theory. I think they're trying to cleanse Hawaii from native Hawaiians and turn it into a money pit for rich people.
Mhm. Yeah, now you're talking, Erik. but I
That's
know we
that's my
can.
opinion. I haven't been to Hawaii in a very long time, so I can't confirm it, but that's my theory, and I think it's a plausible one. I think a lot of people would agree with that.
If you followed that story when it happened like I did, that truly adds up. Although in
Right.
today's world, one and one doesn't necessarily mean two. In my
Right.
world, it still does. And that fire, they've had the reports of several fires like this in different parts of the country and the world. And apparently, it's all attached to the same agenda. And so the bottom line is, my humble opinion, that when you have acquired so much wealth and power, you lose touch with reality
Right.
and you become power hungry and you want to show. And so, for my humble opinion, once more, is right now what we are seeing unfolding on the world stage are billionaires competing with each other at the expense of those like you and me.
Yeah, and you look at those things, and like for instance on Fox News, anytime they talk about um any kind of war scenario, they bring in former General Jack Keane to talk about it. And I started thinking, I'm like, why is General Jack Keane always advocating to arm Ukraine with everything that we have? Why? So I dug into Jack Keane. Come to find out, he's a major investor in the defense contractors.
Mhm.
So of course he wants to arm everybody because he gets kickbacks from that. So that automatically discredits Jack Keane. Every time I see him on Fox News, I'm going, well, here we go. Here's some more warmongering so Jack Keane can get paid. And so, I mean, that's the kind of stuff that they try to do. They expect us Americans to be stupid and lazy,
Because
and
we have been stupid
you're
and
right. You're
lazy.
right.
As a journalist, I am supposed to watch the networks to see what they're reporting. But
I
I
do.
can't even do 5 minutes of it without becoming nauseated and wanting to scream at my TV and throw in a big pot at it or something
Right.
because it breaks my heart to watch how the whole nation is being misled. And
Right.
there's so many that live by what comes through that tube, which is why they get away with what they get away with.
Let me throw this one at you, Jenny Lynn. So think about the progressive movement. That's big in New York. You guys have a socialist mayor now.
Oh,
And um, think about this. They have rallied all of these young college kids to believe in socialism, to believe that the rich need to pay their fair share. When they do their rallies and these candidates, who funds that? The billionaire class funds it. Why? Why would the billionaire class fund the people who are begging to make them pay more in taxes? Well, because they know it's never going to get to that point. They need puppets to maneuver around. And for them to for these young kids that just are sleepwalking through life and allowing these major corporations that they're supposed to be fighting against to dictate them and puppeteer them around, they a lot of kids need to wake up. Uh, because they're leading them right off the ledge. It's like sheep falling off the ledge, and that's what's going to happen. I encourage them to like. I'm not a. I think I don't protest. I don't believe in protesting. I think it's a weak pack animal kind of thing. I talk about it on my podcast all the time. That hey, if you guys want to be pack animals, go ahead be a pack animal. I'm a wolf. I stand by myself. And so I don't buy into that. And plus I know that with every protest there's some kind of hidden agenda behind it.
mhm,
And so I just avoid them.
mhm.
Even if they're, you know, pro Trump, pro Charlie Kirk, I avoid them. I don't want nothing to do with none of these protests. So
Well,
I
I
just
think what saddens, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I think what saddens my heart, and it's like It's very difficult for me because when, like you know, Eric, and I know most of what I know, you know. But when you know, you can't erase what you know. And
Yeah.
so when you watch what is unfolding and you're watching how the multitudes are being misled, it's very, very difficult. So what I'm trying to do all the time is the people closest to me, wake them up. But I could see them looking at me like I'm a nut because what I'm saying to them is in deliberate contrast with the tube where they've gotten their information their entire lives. And who's Jenny Lynn compared to mainstream media in some people's eyes? Although since the files were released, a lot of people called me up and go, "Oh my God, you were telling the truth." And so the thing is, I don't want to be right. I wish I was wrong. But we have to wake up. And a lot of
Right.
people say, okay, so when you wake up, what you're going to do? I think when we wake up, the thing is not to go fight and act like crazy people, but not give them the reaction that they're expecting. Because I believe personally, part of why that file was released was to get us all riled up and do, do what people do when they're angry, because then they harvest your energy for their good. And for me, it feels like keep yourself informed and know when you go to vote. Although I'm hearing we're not going to have any more elections, I don't know. This is what I'm hearing. I didn't vote because throughout my life I've watched the left come in with promises they never delivered, and the right comes in with promises they didn't deliver. And I went down the rabbit hole and found out they're both powerless. They live by the whims and fancies and dictation of the puppets. They're just puppets. So they're just puppeteers, I mean, and they are told what to do and they have to do what they're told to do, not what they promise us. And so at the end of the day, it would be great if we could just turn the blind eye to it completely. But the things that are happening, the rules that are being made are affecting us. And based on what I am seeing in today's world, there isn't a lot being made in our favor. And the few times when they are, there's an agenda attached to it that is not for our best and not in our best interest. And that's what my research has shown me.
Correct. And there's so much, out there to digest and to try to bring in. Um, it's like when they have these just with the whole protest, these people just drink. They drink whatever is given to them, and when you really think about it, when you look at you hear a lot of the progressives are like, oh, the colonizers this, the colonizers that, our white ancestors should be doing this. And I don't want to get into like a giant race thing, but when you look at who's paying your bill, anti-colonizer, it's the colonizers. So really, what are you accomplishing? The Europeans, the original major families of this world that run things are the ones getting you guys to puppeteer around and do all these dumb things for their benefit. We're still being colonized. They're just doing it a different way. And half the country falls for it. Well, more than half, probably 80% of the country falls for it every time.
Well, I don't know if we're ever going to see any change. I don't see how we will because they never had our best interest at the forefront of their agenda. And what would make them do that now? However, I've been on a spiritual mission. I've been very immersed in it and involved. And it's been over a year. And I will go out on a limb and make this declaration. The light has already won. And what we are watching is the cleanup. I truly believe that. But
Yeah.
whenever you're going to build a new house, you have to demolish the old one first. And during that process, it's always difficult. And that's kind of where we're at now, but we've already won. And so if you're watching this interview and feeling discouraged, here's the positive note we're leaving you on. It is, we have, the light has won. And because the bullies know the light has won, they're doing what every bully who has owned the playing field and realize their power, their time is up. What do? They bring out all their guns, and that's what we are dealing with now. So do not be discouraged. Stay in the light and don't let yourself get sucked into any kind of drama. Erik, your turn.
Well, I would have to say that when the Earth starts to look like the movie Independence Day, then you'll know. But remember, the Pleiadians are our friends.
Yes, all those that haven't showed up yet, that they're trying to make you fear, they're coming to help us. And I can promise you that because we work with them and they are really coming to rescue us from this prison we've been living in. So, although the Epstein files are out and all the heinous things you may read in it, those of you who are reading and watching, just know that was the past, and although it may continue to happen, it will only continue to happen for those who are choosing to go down with that ship. Anything you want to add to that, Erik? Yeah.
We should be working every day to purify our own souls and align ourselves with our Maker. So always keep that in mind. When you start to feel frustrated and upset with things, just align yourself. It'll makes it all better.
And Erik and I have both been very involved in this spiritual mission I talked about, and many others around the world, millions of us. And so, what we are saying to you, we can't hold a gun to your head because that's not who we are. But we're asking you to trust us and not to allow the stuff that's around you that's negative to drag you down because that's what they would want. Keep your vibration high, stay positive, and if you choose that, you will ride this tide and hopefully get out to the other side where there's a big, beautiful world that's waiting for us. What do you say, Erik? You
I
have
agree
a
with
big
you, Jenny
smile
Lynn.
on your face.
I agree with you. There's so much more to go in our development, and I think that it's not too late to dump all those things that have been weighing us down, just to get rid of it, and to, like you said, Jenny Lynn, to keep your vibration high. They wanna lower it down, so we're stupid to things. But as long as you keep yourself pure, keep yourself aligned, and treat and try to uplift other people's vibrations and bring a lot of positive energy, you're just doing everybody a good service by doing that.
And don't allow yourself to become fearful because one of the ways we're controlled is by all the crap that's on TV to drive fear. Because when you are fearful, you are not living in your power. You're not operating from your place of strength. So you want to avoid going down that fear path. Because once you keep your vibration high, you need to fear. You need fear nothing. And again, we're going to stress do not fear. You're going to hear about extraterrestrials or whatever, and they're the enemy and they're coming to kill us. That's BS. That is not true. They're coming to help us. Erik, one thing I know that this is only one segment and there's so much. You can't
Right.
do it in a short video. But what would you like to leave with them based on your work recently that you want to make sure that people know because it's something they could be oblivious to? I just want to leave as many encouraging pointers for people as possible because there are some people who follow what we say and trust us.
I think to tie the Epstein files to things. I would encourage you to just in my research and some of the investigations that I've done into the state of Kentucky specifically, which is where I focus most of my time. Um, I can tell you that this Epstein situation, it trickles down, and it's not far away from your local city councilman.
Hmm.
So you need to hold them accountable as well,
Hmm.
because these things are happening at the local level as well. And you can't just sit here and point the finger at Donald Trump or point the finger at Bill Clinton or Barack Obama. It's everybody's fault. But at the same time, all these guys at the local levels are skating under the radar right now. And you need to pay attention to what they're doing and how they're doing it. The amount I have looked into 20 different counties in the state of Kentucky, like intense audited, interviewed so many people, probably thousands of people, collected documents. There's so much evidence that corruption is going all the way down to the local levels in mass, especially in like one side party dominant areas. So if you live in a very liberal neighborhood or a very conservative country town, it's happening there in both ways. We have it here in Atlanta, but Atlanta is somewhat two-partied here. So when the left makes a mistake, the conservatives attack it very heavily. And when the conservatives make a mistake, the liberals attack it very heavily. So there we do have a checks and balances here in Atlanta, but in it's the areas that have a one dominant party is where because they all stick together and they all make money off of each other. So that's where those things they manifest there and they get bigger over time. Then pretty soon to cover up what they're doing, they have to enlist uh, the governor. They have to enlist people of higher power, and then the governor goes, "Well, I better go talk to my buddy who's the Secretary of Defense or whatever to come help me." Then pretty soon that it all starts at the local level, and it vibrates out to the heavier people. So don't think that your community's safe just because um, you know Joe Biden's gone or Donald Trump's released the Epstein files like that. It's not going to work like that. You got to look at everybody.
That's what I meant when I said the upper echelon, we know they're the ones that are pulling the strings, and based on my research, all of the trafficking and stuff, these people are sent to them. So it's like a tier system of evil. There's
Yes,
the bottom level, but there's so many layers that are attached to the evil that then funnels to those that they're working for, who keep themselves insulated. Because everything I've read, only the people who really deep dive know who they are. Everyone else just refers to them as the cabal. So it's a very well-oiled machine, apparently. And it
yeah,
has been in operation for a really long time. But like I said, time is up. And the light has won. And I'm so excited. Eric, when we get together to do these, we could go on and on because you work diligently. Maybe me, not so much. Lately, I had to escape. I was binge watching movies to clear my mind because I couldn't take any more. Because I thought I knew everything. I thought I'd gone down the rabbit hole and knew everything, but as these documents have been released, I have not read any of them, but people I trust have. And as they are reporting what they have discovered, I can't even sit through 5 minutes of what they're saying. The nitty gritty and the graphics, I can't handle it. And so I just decided to retreat to a different avenue that doesn't involve reality.
right.
And I don't do drugs and I don't drink, so I have to find an outlet. And that's kind of what I've been doing. So I thank you so much, Eric. You've been working relentlessly. And by the way, I would be remiss if I wrap the show up without honoring Erik because he has become the hotshot up and coming international journalist that's been in demand. He has been in the Islamabad Telegraph several times. He's been on TV in India. He's been on TV in, he's made a newspaper in Israel. He was on TV in England. And he has so many friends there. I'm sure they were happy to hear what he had. So, Erik, I'm very, very proud of you. You do the work.
Well, thank you. So far, I'm still alive, so I must not have done anything too bad.
I think these days it's harder for them to take us out because, as you know, we are divinely protected and they know which of God's stock they can't touch. Doesn't mean they don't try.
Right.
So anyway, is there anything we didn't cover that you think it's pertinent? Because things are happening so quickly, you know? We're
Yeah,
going,
there's so much. I mean, we if I bring up one more thing, we're gonna end up in segment two.
well, you know, every time we do one of these, we're like, oh, we're gonna come back, and then we both become so busy that we could never really synchronize our timing to make it happen. But we should because I don't even know how many people watch. I don't care, but there are
Right.
people who ask me. So you put out your shows every week, but the way I do the show is different to yours. So, you know, and a lot of what you report on your channel is kind of local news, and most of my friends don't really follow the local stuff. But the way we do it, when we do it together, it's more general and what they want to hear about. So I try to cover it all.
Right. Yeah. I have been tasked with by the city of Atlanta just recently to help market and promote all of their city festivals. So I've been working on that and talking to major business owners and some of these giant corporations we have here in Atlanta to try to bring in sponsorships and partnerships and community engagements and all that. So it's just one more thing I've added to my list of stuff I got to do all the time. Um, and I've started representing. I have a major comedian that I book for. I have two hip hop artists that I book for now. So yeah,
So
I'm busy.
you're like an all-rounder. You're a journalist, now you're booking gigs for
Yeah,
people. No wonder we can't get these shows lined up except once in a blue moon.
but I just like
But
people. I like being around people, so it works.
hopefully you're rubbing off some of your light and keeping the universe lit with
I do the
good,
best that I can.
right. And that's all you can do. We can't ask more of you. Well, Erik, it was great to catch up and to do this segment. And everything we share here are our opinions based on research we have done, and none of it is intended to hurt or offend anyone. But as far as I know, I've not received a memo telling me, and I'm sure the same is true for Erik, that we have lost our democratic rights to free speech. So we share our opinions here, and we will see you soon when Erik can afford the time with another catch up video. Thank you for watching Conversations with Jennylyn, when a conversation is all you need to be inspired, like this one and the one to come. Bye!